Good morning, everyone. Addiction touches everyone in some way, shape, or form. And if you're currently battling an addiction, or maybe you have a loved one in trouble and you really don't know where to turn, our next guests are here to help. Greg Hannley and Daniel Baldwin with SOBA Recovery are back, along with the lovely Tara Connor, Miss USA 2006, and recovery advocate. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Can you believe it's going to be Thanksgiving? I don't know where the time went.
Oh, man.
We're almost there, though.
We are almost there.
Robin called this morning.
No.
It's snowing at my house.
Wow. You know, it's going to be 80 here.
It's snowing.
Today. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we always love when you guys are here. You're so wonderful and everything you do for so many people. I want to go over some trending topics. That's what we always do. Mm-hmm. And the first one I know you're going to be happy about because you've been talking about this for years. Mm-hmm. The White House Opioid Commission calls for wide-ranging changes to anti-drug policies. So President Trump's commission on the opioid crisis called last week for a nationwide system of drug courts and easier access to alternatives to opioids. So the draft has recommendations. One of them requires doctors and others who prescribe opioids to show they have received training in the safe provision of the drugs before they can renew their license. How do you feel? Okay, well, how do you feel about that?
We want all drug dealers that are selling them on the black market to have a valid driver's license. Because we don't want them delivering them not knowing they have a valid driver's license.
Also, let's take something that was originally declared as a national emergency.
Correct.
And then bring it down to a public health care crisis, which gives us a 90-day window to combat an epidemic that takes 142 lives daily.
Okay, so not enough.
No!
Clearly not even close to being enough. What needs to happen? Like, if it were up to you guys and you could march to the White House right now, what would you say to the president? What needs to happen? And I know you have marched to the White House.
Yeah,
right.
You've had meetings.
Greg has had the answer the whole time.
I know he has.
Multiple parts. There shouldn't be more than 2 weeks opiates prescribed to anybody at any time. There needs to be a penalty on the drug companies for doing this that's put towards drug treatment.
Right.
And there needs to be full access to a minimum of 6 months drug treatment.
Yes.
Without any reviews at all for anybody who's addicted to opiates.
Okay.
Immediately.
Immediately. I had a girl hit me up the other day and she said, my brother just got out of a year-long treatment program. He relapsed. It's a part of the disease. That does not mean that he failed. It's just a part of his experience. And they wanted to get him back into treatment right away. And she's asking me, like, do you know anyone that can do scholarships? Is there someone that has that extra fund? Like, what can we do? And there's no access. I mean, there's truly no access. If someone wants treatment, which is generally right now, they should be able to get it right now.
They
and
should
they
have
can.
the
If
drug
they
companies,
want it, they should be able to
Right.
get
the drug companies should pay the deductible and co-pays.
Yes.
For people who need treatment, because that prevents a lot of people. You know, with the policies these days, they might need 5,000 to check in somewhere.
Right.
You know who has it down? He was the one who told me this. American Indians. American Indians in this country, the federal government will pay for a lot of their treatment. It has to be an act of the president that they say, listen, this has gotten so bad. We're going to circumvent the insurance company. If you happen to have insurance, we go. But if you don't or whatever, why does a kid that has Medicaid, I can't get him treatment?
Right.
I can't get him treatment.
Right. And if he doesn't get treatment, we know what's going to happen.
Well, Greg takes half of them and puts them in free.
$1 trillion a year, this does. So if they just do the right thing, and they're talking about medicated assisted treatment, which is, it's paying the guys who cause this.
Yeah.
They're making money off that. Unless you have it accessible for free at every single location, anywhere, 24 hours a day, it doesn't work. People run out of that medication and then they usually relapse and die.
It's never a good ending. I thought this was interesting too. In New Haven, Connecticut, they are suing an OxyContin maker over the opioid crisis. So they have actually sued the company that manufactures the drug, and they're seeking compensation for costs faced by police, social services, and first responders that have to combat.
It's $1 trillion.
Yeah.
The whole country should sue them.
Right.
And they should, the insurance companies, if I was going to make the rule, the insurance companies, they're getting hurt by the amount of people that are trying to seek treatment.
Right.
So they're tightening it up. They should make the drug companies, and the federal government should offset the cost of the insurance. So it only costs a third, but they need to do something yesterday.
Right.
Last year, we've been talking about this, what, for 2 years now?
Right.
They declared the epidemic, but then then what happened?
And then
well,
it turned
nothing's
happened. Nothing's happened.
You can say all you want about planning on a hurricane, and we know the hurricanes are going to come.
But when it hits.
But when you're floating in a flood, planning on a hurricane that you think might come, we're in it now.
Right.
It's happening
Way
right
too
now.
far.
They're sitting around going, well, we should get them a boat.
Let's give them a boat.
Yes.
that
Somebody
has
should get
holes
a
in
boat,
it.
and let's take a vote on it,
Yeah.
and it's...
And let's wait for months before we take a vote on it, and then let's just give them the same vote that they've already had. Let's just like make it sound like we're doing those things, but nothing's still happening.
It's
That
a
must
good
be
talking
very
point.
frustrating. I mean, you see it
Yeah.
every day. This must really drive you guys crazy.
Well, the interesting thing is that we have a president right now that has proven, in a lot of ways, he's kind of a maverick. You know, he's not
He'll
part
do
of the
it.
system. He's the kind of guy that would just go, you know what, we got to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
praying that he'll see it.
Right, and not to mention a president that sent me to treatment. You know,
Who
over
believes in it.
Who
I mean,
believes in treatment.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, when someone like me is saying, Mr. President, please let me help. Mr. President, please let me help. I've been in this field for over a decade. Please let me help. Let us help. Like, please answer the phone for people who have been doing this for years.
She
that
calls
know
them
this-
all the time.
I love
I
that.
asked her yesterday, I go, when are we going to go see the
We need
press?
to go
Whenever
make a
he
visit.
answers.
Can I come?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Part
All right,
of the
you
crew.
guys stick around. We have more with SOBA and Tara after the break. I love that you follow. What's up?
Yeah, no,
What are we doing today about it?
I reached out to you.
Hi, I'm Daniel Baldwin, and this is SOBA, Texas, where I got sober. When you come to SOBA, you're not going to a hospital. You're going to a beautiful ranch. You're going to a place of peace where you're going to join a family of people that have a common problem, addiction or alcohol. Your treatment plan is made by the clinicians here at SOBA, depending upon the circumstances in your life, not like one size fits all. It starts with a phone call. Someone will answer the phone and talk you through exactly what your needs are. Call now.
Welcome back, everyone, and we are back with SOBA Recovery, and we always go over the latest issue of Recovery Today, which is your publication, Greg, and the guy on the cover is Brandon Novak. I think people will recognize him. He was on Jackass. He was also on another MTV show, Viva La Bam. So he has quite the story, and I really wasn't that familiar with his story, but he's something.
Oh, it was crazy, the roller coaster
And he's
that he
young.
went on. Yeah, he went from being just a young skater to a huge celebrity, and then to a homeless, doing really bad things, to now a recovery advocate again. His story was amazing. I love that guy.
Well, I think we have a little clip of him, and it's him talking about one of his absolute lowest moments.
At the end of my run, you know, a series of events had taken place, and I was supposed to go on tour to Australia. They kicked me off the tour. I went back to my mother's house, and this is the woman who had never said no to me. I knocked on the door. I said, Mom, the tour is canceled. I'm here to take care of you a little bit longer. And she did the worst thing she could have ever did in the world to me. She looked at me and she didn't say a word. She didn't scream at me. She didn't say, how did you do this again? What's wrong with you? Let's put you back in rehab. She said nothing at all, as though she was watching her only child stand in front of an Amtrak train coming 1,000,000 miles an hour, and she couldn't do anything to save him.
Yeah.
And all I could do was look at her and I said, I'll never forget this day as long as I live. I looked at her and I said, Mom, do you hate me now? She said, I don't hate you, but I will no longer love you to death. And I've had so many low bottoms in my drinking and drugging career, but this was the lowest bottom I had ever hit, because my bottom came up to meet me. Yeah. Because I knew that this position that I had put myself in yet again was fully self-induced. And if I only would get out of my own way, I could get better.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
That was his absolute lowest point. I guess everyone has to reach that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I don't think anyone just living with the human condition really wants to change anything until they really have a true awareness of what it is that they're suffering from, especially addicts, because unless we've lost everything.
And you mean everything.
And I mean everything.
Yeah.
And for some reason, for me, it boiled down to my dignity, but like at the end of the day, there has to be some type of a loss to see that, wow, my way isn't working. I need to reach out to someone who may have a way that can work.
We have a clip that I'll bring next time. I'll ask Greg if we can. And we were shooting with Andy Dick, myself, Greg, and a young man named PJ. And PJ is somebody I put into recovery a number of times, and finally I got him over to Greg. In this interview, you know, they talk about your bottom. And there's always another bottom waiting for you that's even lower than the last thing you did. And you won't believe that with some of the things that we've done.
You think it can never get worse.
It can't get worse. But he says, looks right into the camera and he said, they talk about institutions, they talk about prison, and then they talk about death. And he goes, I know if I use again, I'm going to die. He's dead.
Yeah.
He died this year.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. You also have in that issue of Recovery Today an article on how to quit and why you should. So it lists three things that you need to keep in mind. First, they say make a decision. So is that decision just to get help? Because that seems like a much broader decision.
Yeah, to at least explore it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't need to be finite. You can consider it. You can kind of have the decision to be at least to make a phone call and get some information, but do something.
And that decision usually comes in a very short window span, because I can, at one point, when I'm feeling pretty bad about myself, say, I need help. Holy crap. And it's usually when I'm in the fetal position on the floor crying, being like, God, what do I need to do? You know, but the second that, like, you know, Housewives comes on, I'm like, I'll get back to you. You know what I mean? So
you gotta strike. That's what you're saying.
All that came to my mind was, I made that decision so many times, but I kept changing my mind.
Right, you keep changing your mind. So it's like, to make that decision, you have to be pretty badly mangled, but hopefully they're badly mangled so that they can hear.
Okay, the second thing is, it says you must see the temporary high as long-term suffering.
Well, yeah. It feels good now, but it's going to hurt later. One of my favorite quotes, DJ AM said this. He said, my will feels good right now, but it hurts later. God's will might hurt right now, but it feels good later.
That's good.
It plays in my mind all the time.
I'm like,
all right.
And then finally, the third one says you must see change as easy. We all know it's not, but I guess you need to see it. Easy.
Who wrote this article? I know.
Who is this person,
Daniel and
Greg?
I were talking about this morning. It is so exhausting to stay high and drunk and deal with the things that you have to, that come along with it. It's exhausting for everybody. So the change actually is way less exhausting. And when I got into treatment and finally decided that I was going to try this, because I didn't buy into it at all. I was just going to take a rest for a month. But when I did, it was like I could let my breath out and go, finally. I can relax, I could rest. I wasn't chasing the dragon all the time.
It's like, what would you pay for the price of freedom?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of discomfort. I'll take that any day of the week. Because
there's that moment too. Did you experience this moment? That moment when you go, it's over. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Relief.
Finally.
You're just, you're all the people you have to keep at bay, and the agent, my mother, my sisters and brothers, my spouse.
And when you come in, it's immediate. You have that feeling. It was immediate. Once I made that decision, it was done.
Yeah.
All right, guys, well, stick around because after the break, we have so many viewer questions to get to. So we will do that. We'll be right back.
Get ready for one of the best songs ever.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here with Greg Hannley, Daniel Baldwin, and Tara Connor, and we have so many viewer questions that we want to get to, so we'll just get started. First up, this is from Facebook. A viewer says, what are the early signs of alcohol addiction? I know we've covered this a lot, but I feel like this is a popular question. What are those first signs?
Well, generally it's trouble and problems. You know, when you're, I always say that the criteria when people want to know, do I have a problem? It is, does alcohol consistently interfere with you having a good life? So if you're getting DUIs, if you're, I mean, this is the lower level stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Not making it to work.
Yeah, you're getting fired from your job. Your wife is mad at you all the time. You end up with weird people.
But are you, this is one that I had to notice because my consequences didn't come until a national scandal. But are you drinking or using to change the way that you feel on the inside? Are you uncomfortable and using drugs and alcohol to make you feel comfortable in your skin?
Well, and I think the most important thing to look at, this question is about the preliminary level. So the answer to it is change.
Right.
If you knew your partner drank or your son drank or whoever it is that was somebody who liked alcohol and drank, but now what's the first early sign? So this is the beginning of seeing a problem.
Right.
What's changing?
Well, the earliest sign is that you're thinking about it.
Oh,
Right.
well, I was like, you're asking the question
All
too.
the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean that you're constantly thinking about
Yeah, if you have to ask,
when
then
we're going to drink again?
it's already
Right.
there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, guys, second question. Is it true that most people develop alcohol or drug addictions while they're in college?
Well, usually addiction or alcoholism starts in adolescence. 80% of addiction starts in adolescence because the brain is still developing, right? So if the brain isn't fully developed until you're 25, the drugs are hitting that frontal lobe that's developing. It's in charge of decision-making skills and your moral compass and all of these things. And so when you're stunting that and you're stunting that part of your brain that's your happy sensor, your happy response, your reward system, it's very hard to reach that level of reward or that feel-good feeling from a sober state after you have triggered that, because that brain, it produces more happy feelings like dopamine and stuff like that. So it's, yeah, I mean, if you're drinking before you're 25, you're stunting your growth in your brain.
Well, one thing for sure that I know that the three of us share, and that is that the underlying reasons why you're delving into alcohol and playing chemist all stem from when you were younger.
Yeah.
Way younger.
Yeah.
You know, so
The college kids, we have a program, College Recovery, and so the kids that we get in there are the ones that didn't stop on Monday, and they were wrecking and ruining their college career. So, you know, there's kids that go through college and they party really hard, and then they grow out of it. You
Yeah.
know, and they have nice lives and good families and good careers. It's the guy who doesn't.
That's me.
But think about that innovation for a minute, and I'm not trying to pat you on the back or anything, but think about that. So he looks again, Greg and his team, looks at the things that work and don't work. When you're a parent that's paying $50,000 a year to send your kid to school, and they're a junior in college, and they're about to have to walk out because of a drug or alcohol problem, and Greg turned around and looked at it and went, wait a minute, why don't we take an experiment and see if we put something on campus?
We had 100% graduate.
So these kids now get to go to class, but they check in and take some groups when we look at their schedule, and then they go and they might be tested randomly, but they're finishing school and getting sober at the same time. How is this not a model that's
Genius.
on every campus?
It is, well, it
How
is
is
a
it
model,
not?
and they
They're
are
saying who's
trying
gonna pay
to do
for
it.
it.
Right.
That'd be great if they did
Right.
it.
Yeah. It needs to, like, more funding for that is super helpful. And, yeah.
But the model that they have is there's a lot of sober college dorms, but you have to have a year sober to get into them.
Well, you got to get
So
sober
we-
first.
Right.
You gotta help them
What
get
we
there.
did was we filled that gap. So, and we found, at first we were doing crisis management when kids were totally getting kicked out of school. Then we started doing it when they were just starting to get in trouble and moving them into the program.
Yeah.
And they were all successful, all of
That's
them.
awesome. Okay, we just have a question that just came in right now on Facebook on our live stream. If a person has cleaned up on their own, but knows the counseling really needs to be done due to suppressing traumatic situations that nobody ever knew about, why would a person still feel overwhelmed about going in?
I'm going to tell you something about this, and this happened to me at his place. And I just put someone very, very close to me, a family member, into recovery. And the thing that won the day when they didn't want to go was this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go back in therapy, and you're in these protective walls, and you're going to probably find some things out that you're not even fully aware of right now. You want that bomb to go off when you're not in those protective walls. You're going to a therapist and you get in your car and you have to drive by liquor stores, dealers, different people, and go home. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible scenario.
It is.
You want to be able to start to, and that's why Greg keeps them for months if they're willing to stay, because it takes time to establish that trust. and then we turn around, we start to uncover stuff, and we turn some stuff up that's kind of, it doesn't have a good smell to it. But then we teach you how to deal with that and how to live with it, and we unearth a little more. And this is why you want to do that, especially someone who knows they have issues.
Right.
All right, guys, we got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we are going to let you guys know exactly what you can do today if you think you are in a bad spot or if you have a loved one that you're really concerned about. We will be right back.
So good.
And we are back with Sober Recovery, and Alex is joining us now, and really, we're running out of time, but I want to just, if there is someone that's watching right now and they're in trouble or they have a loved one who is in trouble, what can they do right now?
You bring in the closer for the last
That's
minute.
right.
Free copies for closers. We always say it starts with the phone call or reach out to us. Yeah. You can find us on social media. You can get the phone number that's on the screen, give us a call. Or come on out if you want to see what the facility actually looks like.
Someone will
Come do a
always
tour.
answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
24/7.
James on the phone right now,
Okay.
waiting for a call.
So if you're unsure if you even have a problem, you can still call.
Yes.
Worried about your kiddo.
Call.
Anything.
You could be the person having the problem. No, you know, that's a great thing about
Or
it.
that.
He says this all the time. It starts with a conversation. It literally is a friend on the other line. It's going to go, hey man, I get it. It's going to be someone who's been there.
Even if it's you can say you're the friend.
Right.
I'm calling
I
for
have
my
a
friend to get
Always.
information.
Always from a friend.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank y'all for being here. And again, if you would like to get in touch with SOBA, there is the information right there on your screen. You can call them, 866-948-9014, or go to sobatexas.com. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I like that shirt.
Patches.
Yeah.
Did you wear that for Alex?
Yeah, he's the
I told him.
He's the ultimate closer. Hi, I'm Daniel Baldwin, and this is SOBA Texas, where I got sober. When you come to SOBA, you're not going to a hospital. You're going to a beautiful ranch. You're going to a place of peace where you're going to join a family of people that have a common problem, addiction or alcohol. Your treatment plan is made by the clinicians here at SOBA, depending upon the circumstances in your life, not like one size fits all. It starts with a phone call. Someone will answer the phone and talk you through exactly what your needs are. Call now.